Well, thank you, Andre. This Saturday, I am much better than last Saturday, which I was actually quite sick. Some of you maybe saw that. But now I am almost well again. Thank you. And as Andre said, this is more about theoretical, not theoretical, but of course theoretical, practical question answers as far as I can answer of your practice. So I think we could start directly on that. And then we can come into maybe more or deeper answers when the questions demand. Yes, so please. How is it going?
Okay. Hi. So Jordan is ready to ask a question. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, I just have a question about I did get the chance to rewatch last weekend's workshop on the astral, etheric, and elemental bodies, and I had a question about for Ari about how he was able to perceive, sorry, I can't see you, Ari, but I can see Andre. How you were able to perceive Vidar as blue if you were traveling with the elemental body. That's my first question. I can't hear Ari for some reason.
No, you can't hear because I'm thinking.
Oh, oh, I didn't see you, sorry.
You know, the first lecture I gave in America, that was in Seattle in '89, I think. Then I got some questions that was on cancer therapy. And I got some questions that was in pure veterinary medicine. And then when I got some question, I stood thinking for a moment, and this was referred to or talked about for years, that it was very unusual in America. In America, you sort of have an answer immediately and not think. So I had much fun about that, about that incident. So yes, so because your question was, I had to sort of rethink the path through the elemental world, reaching the threshold, and there meeting the guardian. And it's quite clear when you start, as Rudolf Steiner indicate in his 19 lessons, you are in this world, and he emphasizes that it is color upon color, you know, and smells and sights and everything is beautiful. And then you become aware of a certain darkness. And in this darkness, you see a little light, and then you sort of start on this path. And this path through the elemental world is black and white. There is no color there, at least that I have seen. But when you reach the threshold and the door is not shut, it is half open, but you can still not enter because you have the guardian, then you are almost in the etheric world. And in the etheric world, there are colors. Especially especially reddish, bluish, yellowish. So that is why I say that, because that is on the border between the elemental and the etheric. Sort of border between the new mysteries and the newest mysteries. Yeah, that was an answer to that question. I think
Okay.
you posed that question to me in a mail or something. Did you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't answer.
You said to bring it up today.
Yeah, that's why I asked you. Yes, good.
Yeah, and then I guess my second question was when we're traveling through our astral, our etheric, or the elemental bodies, are we still able to, like, for instance, reach the threshold, or is the threshold only you're only able to travel through your elemental body?
No, yeah, very good question. And I have been working with that for some years now. There are 4 doors into the spiritual world, which Rudolf Steiner referred to. That he said 3 doors at that time, and of which 1 door was not accessible or easily accessible. So in 100 years ago, there were 2 doors, the door of the sun and the door of death. Then we had this question from Johanna von Kaiserlink, who could go to a certain extent into the elemental world. And she asked Rudolf Steiner if it's possible to go to the spiritual world, the higher spiritual world, through the elemental world. And Steiner say it's possible, but it's not, today it is not feasible. Is that the right word? It's not, it is possible, but not practical or something, because it is more or less closed. So, and then in the, I guess around 1930, made by Christ from the etheric, they opened the 4th door. So today there are 4 doors into the spiritual world. And it seems more and more to me that traveling with the different aspects of our spiritual makeup brings us to different doors. So traveling through the elemental or with the elemental body, then we come to the elemental door of the elements. If we travel with the etheric or through the etheric or with the abilities of the etheric body, then we reach the door of the sun. Then we have the door of the death, which seem to be reached more through working with the astral body. And then you have this 4th soul capacity, time, karma, Christ, which seem to lead to the 4th door, the door of light. So you see, you can, and that is why Steiner said to be a true initiate, I think he used that word, you have to go through all the doors. And that means you have to be able to travel with or a certain mastery of both thinking, feeling, willing, and the 4th capacity, or with the different bodies, the elemental body, the etheric body, the astral body, and the I, the Christ I consciousness body. So yes, you can reach different doors, and that opens into different aspects or different regions of the spiritual world.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that clarifies a lot. Um, I'm just curious about this from our last meeting that we had, this doorway of death that a lot of us were kind of walking through. You yourself said that you were kind of walking through it. I was, and a couple of other people in the meeting, and I'm curious if you have any insights since the last time with walking through this doorway of death. Does it feel like something that there's like a completion to it, or is it something that like we're kind of just walking through continuously, you know, as we're in this lifetime? Or does it feel kind of like certain souls have evolved to a different stage, so they're at different stages within this doorway of death, kind of? Or if it might not seem clear yet.
I cannot answer that good enough.
Okay. Yeah. And then my final question was, when you're working with something that is needing to be transformed, say it's like a sickness, like even this past week, like what you've been dealing with a cold or something more severe, you've spoken about how it's like hard, you know, to open up the middle and invite in the Christ on yourself, kind of like doing appendix surgery on yourself or something like that. So I'm curious how you personally go about inviting in the Christ for yourself when you're dealing with sicknesses, or say like a pathological elemental, or a demonic attachment or something like that.
No, that is, I just talked with Andre before we started this about sickness. I am in a study group which meet online every Tuesday, one person from Russia, two from Sweden, one from England, and me. And last Tuesday, there were two of them who said we cannot meditate because we are sick. And I didn't understand that. I said, well, I don't understand it, because all my life when I'm sick, I really can travel much further into the spiritual. It
Me
loosens
too.
bond, yes. And for me, that's why I have never actually been fighting disease. I get sick and I sort of enjoy it. Even to the point of even death, because when I was, I guess, 39, I was working up in northern Norway, and one day afternoon I got a massive stroke, and I was paralyzed, and I was lying on the floor, and I not 1 second thought about calling ambulance or doctor, which you of course should do when you have a stroke. That is so imperative. If you are fast in treatment, and I know this, of course, I have studied medicine. So, but I, not for a second, at first I thought, oh, I'm going to die. That will be interesting. So after a few hours, I thought, why am I not dead? So I didn't do anything. And that is what I always enjoyed, sort of sickness, if it's not too painful, of course, but I seldom do something with it. Yeah, that was an answer.
Okay. You just let it be. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Glenn is next.
Hello. I have a question, Ari. You just said that 4 doors, and in going through the pathway to each door, you're going through your elemental, etheric, astral, and I being. So you've also said that when you get to a door, that there's a possibility to stand back and look at all 4 gates or doors and
Yes.
go through them. So if that happens, presumably you haven't gone through the pathway to each of those doors. Does that mean you're losing out on something? We will be
No,
losing out on something.
then you have misunderstood me a little. What I've said is that is effect. When I found this 4th door, I realized that when you have reached one door, you have a phenomenon that all four doors, or the guardians of the four doors, start to speak to you. It struck me at some time that is exactly what Rudolf Steiner described in the 19th lesson. He starts with one guardian that talk from from somewhere, one guardian, and then it gets more and more. And at the end, all the hierarchies talk in sort of union. And the teachings from all these guardians of the four doors, which are 9 in total, it changed character. But you don't walk through the doors, Glenn. You can walk through one door and then you sort of get a certain access to the guardians of the four doors. You can stand before them, but you don't necessarily go through them. Then you have to go path to the door. Maybe I have been unclear.
No, now I understand. So you can see the four doors having gone through the path to one door, but you actually have to travel, ideally, you have to travel the four paths.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I must also add that when you have walked one path, because the four paths are not totally different. There are certain differences, but it's like when you have gone one path to London, you have to go another, but they are not that different. They are, for example, when you meet the lower guardians, they are not that different. You have to deal with the flaws in your thinking, feeling, willing, but you don't do it again and again. So it seems to me that it is easier to go the next path when you have gone one path.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So Elise, next. Elise, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for these workshops, and I've had the chance to watch them all, but not been able to participate. I'd like to just very quickly report on some work that I've been doing since RAU first met with us in Toronto in October. Can't remember if it's 1 or 2 years ago now. I've had the opportunity to work with Christianizing practice in Mexico and Vietnam, and also the United States, most recently in North Carolina, near where the hurricane was active. And it seems to me that the work with the Christianizing has an incredible potency. And I received back some confirmation of a work in Chapala, Mexico, where the lake had been diminished and was quite ill, and also a lot of the water had disappeared. And then a friend of mine went to a meeting with a lake expert who studies the lake there, and he was reporting that unexplainedly the lake had recovered. So I feel very grateful to know of this work, and I try to do it wherever I go. So thank you for that. And then my question is in relationship to what you spoke about last time about the 4 different streams of time. And I wonder, are they in relation to these 4 bodies, these 4 doors, these 4 pathways? Or if you could say more about it, it's completely blown open for me, a whole new level of inquiry, and I'm grateful, but would love to hear more.
No, I think it is wrong, and maybe on a level that I do not understand. There might be a relation between the 4 doors and the 4 streams. But these 4 streams of time, that is in the devacanic world, and not even in the etheric. So no, I cannot say anything more about that, specific about that at this time.
could I ask you about the two streams of time then, just to see if I understand those correctly? Because you started by speaking about the two streams, and I understand them as from the past to the future, and then from the future towards the past. And I've been working with imagination and imaginative cognition in relationship to receptivity and in relation to the future. So that's something I've been working with for about 20 years, but I've never heard of 4 streams. So I'm just wondering if there's any more in relation to that.
No, that is what you quite clearly see when you enter the devaconic world. And that is beyond our cosmos, you know. We think that it all was created at Saturn, but this is our universe. And there it is a dual time line too. But when the devaconic world is far, far bigger than our created universe, it goes far before or far after. And there it is for time. That is one of the teachings from when you reach the devaconic world, when I reach the devaconic world. That is one of the main teachings, that it is a fourfold stream of time.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that was not enough, I guess, but
It's a gateway. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Philippa, next. Philippa, please unmute your.
Thank you. Hi. So I just want to go back to the 4 doors again, because you say that they're to do with our thinking, feeling, willing, and the I. So does that mean that we enter those with those capacities, that if we go to the etheric door, we do it through our feeling life? Is that what you're saying, or is that what the relevance is to the different?
Well, these 4 doors, they have a certain, I don't say they are absolutely, but they have a certain connection to our fourfold being.
Mm.
And they have a certain relation to our fourfold soul abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, and definitely when you are this path to the door of the sun, you definitely will learn a lot about the etheric body, about thinking, remembering, intelligence, sort of. And this path is definitely what Rudolf Steiner describes, because at that time you didn't have any other paths to almost he wouldn't send people on the path to the door of death either, I guess. And the elements was closed and the door of the light was not yet opened. But if you go in, that's why he quite often said, I cannot say more about this, especially when it came to the elemental world and the elemental path. And he also said it clearly to Johanna von Kaiserling, don't go there. It is not yet possible. And there you use the elemental. And, you know, that is also the main, on the path of the etheric body, you have to reach to a stage of living thinking. Living, very obvious, connected to the etheric living force, living thinking. But if you go into the path of the elemental world, you use sort of structural thinking. And the main law in the, for example, in the etheric thinking is the is the, for example, the Gutianistic color theory, where you have, you look at the color and then you have this other complementary color is created. That is sort of a living
Okay.
experience of colors. But in the elemental, you have the elemental structural way of thinking, which main law is not complementary, but like a mirror-wise, you go to a mirror way of thinking, and that is, for example, shown in the how elementary particles behave. You have two elementary particles that come from the same energy, and even if they are 100 light years apart, they react exactly at the same time. They are entangled, as they say.
Mm.
And that is the law of the elemental world. And not material, even because in material science, they have no idea how this phenomenon can be. They don't understand it.
Mm.
So that is the material world. Then you have the elemental thinking, then you have the etheric thinking, and then you have the astral thinking. So these are different ways of thinking which you use on these four paths.
Okay, so just very roughly then, you have the sun, which is you have thinking, feeling, willing, and the eye. So which doors are each of those connected with? The eye is the light door, yeah?
Yeah, but why I describe this is that you say thinking, willing, feeling, and time, karma, Christ, the I, Christ,
Yeah.
I. Even in the thinking, you have fourfoldness. You have, as I try to say, you can have material thinking, you can have living thinking, you
Yeah.
can have structural thinking, and you can also have astral thinking, which is dominated by plus minus, you might say, that is sympathy, antipathy, while the elemental thinking has a main law of mirror-wise, and the
Yeah.
etheric has a complementary way of thinking.
But as a broad category, the sun is thinking, the death
So,
door, the death door is feeling.
yeah, but now, yes, you can sort of say, but not
Just
what I
to,
mean to say is that there is not, you cannot divide it that strict, because let's say thinking has to do with the door of the sun,
yeah,
but still there are different kinds of thinking,
yeah, yeah, I understand that.
and these kinds have also a relation to the other doors.
But and the will is related to the elemental door.
Yeah, but now you don't get what I say.
Just as a broad category, the will is for the
You
elemental.
cannot make such so categoric
Okay, I understand.
differentiation.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. But this, yeah, I understand that for each of them, there are, all I was thinking is that if we are more developed in certain aspects, would that be the door to which we were, it would be more
Can you
useful.
repeat? You talk a little
Okay.
low.
If we happen to be developed as an individual in more certain aspects, if we were a more thinking person or a more feeling person, would that be a guide to which door we could?
Yes, it would, although you have to also have the, as I demonstrated with the thinking, you have to have the living thinking or the structural thinking or the astral thinking. You have to also use the thinking and the feeling and the willing and the time, karma, Christ ability in their also their aspects. This is not very straightforward. It is You use all capacities on all doors, but there is a change in the capacity, different aspects of it, and also, of course, one path is more of the thinking, one is more of the willing, some it's more of the feeling, and so on.
So which one is more of the will, the elemental part?
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, because that, yeah, okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
But this question is very, very difficult, very complicated. It's not a straight answer.
No, no. But you've given me a flavor of it. Thank you. It's been helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So who's next, dear friends?
On? Yes. Hello.
Hi, I cannot
I have
see you.
I have a question. I have two questions. It's interesting for me very much. I would like, if it's possible in some time, not now, that we can have a longer time being in the astral thinking. How do you do that? How do you do in the etheric? How is that going on? That to train that, to have an excursion on it, and that is for me a very, very essential thing. I'm doing now a program on Novalis, and he has in the pupils of size a very nice thing where it's more etheric description. It's in German, of course, and that is one thing. And the other thing is we are now with a group of people, and in this time we have 9/11 at this moment. What can we do at this moment as a group for the situation in the world?
Well, in my opinion, on the last question is that, in my opinion, the most important thing we can do today is to venture into the spiritual world, to do something there. Like the last questionnaire was that with this lake, you can, when you go into the elemental world, you can really do something. You can also do it from the etheric, of course. You can do it from the astral. But what this group is set up is sort of going into the elemental, and there be able to perform the three occultisms, as Rudolf Steiner described it: hygienic, mechanical, and eugenic. So when you go into the elemental and transform the elemental beings, or also transform the elemental beings of your own body, then you wrestle them away from the Ahrimanic or the adversarial forces. And they also then work on their own behalf as a Christianized elemental being. But this is something that we have to do. Well, I have problems in thinking that we can do it as a group. Because when you meet elemental beings, you meet them, I think more or less you stand in front of them as an individual. Of course, when you are doing it together, you strengthen each other. So that might be possible. But that is what I think today is the most important, is to teach, or we all can go there. And actually we can, when we go into the elemental world, we can meet there as a group, and we can decide to meet in front of one of the doors, for example, and there do something. Or we can contact certain spiritual beings and work with them. I have this group on Tuesdays where we meet with Skytianos and try to do something. And for doing that, we all, 4 or 5, have to go into the spiritual world in some way, in each our ways, and there meet. Well, just some thoughts about that, what you said.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So,
Thank you. So,
hard
yeah,
work.
are you done, or another question?
No, it's enough.
Thank you. So, Well is next.
Hi there. I was hoping you'd just speak a little bit to Steiner's indications of separating our thinking, feeling, and willing during our practice. And just the way that I feel, and I don't know if you can make a comment on this, but when I start, it seems to be like from a willing aspect, sort of like I can feel an intention coming from my abdomen, but then I don't seem to make much progress because it feels kind of forced, until I bring up my heart and like call in the Christ to help in this. So I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit to that.
Well, when you go out of your body, either with the etheric, the astral, or the elemental, or the I, well, the I the consciousness always follows. So when you do that, it causes a certain separation. You observe that your thinking is not related to the willing and feeling and so on. You get a certain separation when you go out of the body. There is an automatic separation. And then you can decide, shall I follow the astral? Shall I follow the etheric? Shall I follow the elemental? And that is what you have to decide or train. That is what I trained last week with the hands, that you can move the astral hand, you can move the etheric hand, you can move the elemental hand, or you can move the material hand. And that is in itself, I think you cannot enter the spiritual, or you cannot go out of your body without causing a separation.
So
That
maybe
is how I see it.
So maybe in my case, it was moving to the heart feeling that made it more effective. In other words, first I tried the willing, and then it's like that.
Yeah. We probably have different abilities to follow these aspects. And that's why you have to choose sort of your path or what you use. I have found that most people most easily can leave the body through between the throat and the heart in this area. And then you have to decide, do I travel further with my elemental body, with my etheric body, with my astral body? And also the conscious or the I, Christ body. And of course, you follow each of these four with your consciousness. Wow, today you make it very complicated. This is very challenging questions today. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, who is next? Yes, Christina, Switzerland.
Hey,
Go ahead.
good evening. Ara, I'm reading the book of Judith von Halle, as you said, and there she's describing that moment of the death of Golgotha, that there is one moment, there is really only this elemental view without the etheric and all the others. So, and I got a feeling going further in that book that maybe is one middle point of one side of a Lemniscate, and I had that maybe thinking that when we go through the times after death and then we have that midnight moment, maybe that could be this other point, because we all, if we were there by the moment of the death in Golgotha or not, that is the deepest point, and all going into evolution in was heißt das? Entwicklung, development, is always this Lemniscate movement. I'm right?
Not, I wouldn't say always, but in the
Okay.
elemental, as you know, as Christ existed in his resurrection body, in his phantom body, he was in the elemental. And that is always as an lemniscate, because it's always this mirror-wise. You always have the 2 points. That is an experience when you are in the elemental. And that is a foundation of elemental thinking. It is this mirror-wise thinking. While in the etheric, it is not really that lemniscate. It is.
It's not closed. It's going
Yes.
further.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Yes. Then it is something else. But this typical lemniscate is in the elemental, but not in the etheric as such, and not in the astral as such. They are different forms of it, you might say. Wow,
And
I said it was deep questions today. Now you go even further. God.
so when I was in that colloquium by the branch of the Goetheanum last Saturday, there is always a talk, maybe the elemental beings, and I understand most of all that people speak from the first level, who Steiner gave it.
Yes.
And nobody will realize or listen, or very few will listen what you brought us through Vida, and that is really the point, that we go into these elemental levels and can bring that change. And only humans can do that.
Yes.
So that was a little bit like I would like to shake them all, but yeah, can't do that. Yeah. Okay. And when I'm next level, when I gave streaming massage after Simeon Pressel, I'm normally working in that elemental level. No, in the etheric level. But there are some movements where I have this going through the calves like that. And that is also like if you have a lemniscate, but you come from the one and from the other side, but the thumbs going in that on the right and left side where there is like a little gap or so, and there is more that structure from the elemental side.
Yes.
And if I realize that inwardly and then realize that through my thumbs, I have the feeling that is going through to that human, this client.
Yes, what you say there is actually brings some light. Many years ago, there was a enormously learned anthroposophic doctor in Dornach. Doctor, what was his name? Doctor. Yeah, name will come. It was the one before Dr. Wolf. Well, name doesn't matter. But he told us one evening about his visit to these people who operate with the hands, with the fingers in the Philippines, I think.
Yeah.
And he said that they had control over the etheric. And then he described how he looked at this operation, and he was a surgeon, so we knew all the anatomy, the tendons, the veins, the bones. And he said physically they separated the tissue. They went into the blood. There was a little bleeding. They stopped it by a certain movement. And he said that all these movements that they used, they were based on the Lemniscate.
Aha.
I always worked in the Lemniscate. But you see, when you do that in the etheric, it's not possible to master the physical, the material in that way. So what he described was how they could go into the elemental.
Yeah.
But as he was an anthroposophic doctor, he thought, of course, that it was the etheric, because that is so important in anthroposophic medicine. They sort of disvalue, I would say, the elemental body or the elemental beings. And it is described also by Steiner that when Christ, he could be there physical, but then suddenly he could walk through the door, the wall, I mean. And that is the elemental and not the etheric. So to understand this, what you say here, when you change between the lemniscatic effect, then you are in the elemental and not the etheric.
Mm-hmm.
And both can be used in medicine, but to work with the elemental beings, then you have to be in the elemental. When you work with the life force or the oh, yeah, life force, then you are in the etheric.
So I'm looking forward to next weekend when Gerd Bronner will have a course near Basel. And he brought into his script a new point. It's in German, fluten und verschmelzen. It's floating and merging.
Ah,
So Harry told me that he has contact to you or read your books, whatever. Harry, what was it exactly? Loud. You have to switch on. We can't hear you.
Yes,
I just
fading
unmute.
and merging is it the title in German of the book?
Yes, no. What is the connection between Gerd Bronner to Are?
Yes, well, in fact, it is Jose Martinez who is the one who trained also Gerd Bronner. Gerd Bronner is doing it further, and I wouldn't talk about it, but the Lemniscate is not only one in one. It has three-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's a three-dimensional Lemniscate. And I did that training in 2000 and until 2004, and it was very special. And it is also based on the osteopathy, and we trained to feel the movement around the organs, and that was this three-dimensional, and you have the axis. I don't know what axis the axis. The vertical had to do with the nerve and sinus system, the nerve and senses system. Then you have the one with the transversal axis that has to do with the feeling, with the rhythmic system, and then you have the willing with this the sagittal thing. So you could see in an organ which has also a spiritual and soul element in it, where you could ask questions also in a certain terrain, which has to do with the soul and going out. So that's what we learned.
mm.
Okay, but it's really that he put a new point in his script, floating and merging. And I'm looking really forward to that. And he's describing we are learning to go into the etheric and to see that. But I think there is more also of the elemental. Maybe he not all realized that. We will see.
So are we complete, Christina?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sue is next. Sue?
Hello, thank you. I'm new here. I've only heard a few lectures, so I have a very basic question for you. Of course, illness affects the life body, but is it always a source of the elemental beings, or can it come from another source?
What are you saying? Can you ask more?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask about working with parasites in particular. I figure that's an elemental issue, but so
what are you asking?
How do you work with the element? You may have covered this in all your other lectures. How do you work with the elementals in the case of illness, chronic illness?
Yeah, when you work, if if I describe something, let's say making a dough, making a bread, yes, and then I describe how to do this working with the dough. You understand what I'm saying?
The dough. Uh-huh.
Dough and dough. Then you ask how do you do that? Then you have to make this dough. I cannot say that in Norwegian, sorry.
Oh, dough. The dough.
Dough, yeah. So when you work with the elemental, you have to go into the elemental world. When you are in the elemental world, you can work with the elemental beings. When you are in the etheric world, you can work with the etheric. I have had this discussion with many, and they have asked this thing, how can you do this or that? You have to go there. If you want to do something with water, you have to go into the sea. If you want to do something with the air, you go into the, well, you don't have to go into the air, but you have to be in the air. You have to work with the air and so on. That is why the main thing is this fading and merging. You have to go out of yourself, activate, you have your consciousness in the elemental or in the etheric or in the astral, and then you go into the elemental, and then you observe more or less in different ways the elemental beings, and when you observe them, you can work with them. And the first level of working with them is the hygienic occultism. Then you can work with disease. Next level is mechanical, and the third level is eugenic. Yeah.
Do you have any specifics about working with parasites or clearing parasites out of the body?
Yeah, then you go and you then transform in Christ or verchristligen. What is that English? Through Christianize, you Christianize the elemental being of the parasite.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, and that is one thing that is amazing, and Steiner pointed that out. When you Christianize the elemental being of something, it might be a 5G mast or a cell phone or a fungus in the body or a bacteria or a poison or alcohol or a drug. When you Christianize it, it cannot hurt. So if you have a parasite which makes you sick and you Christianize the elemental being of that parasite, it will not hurt you. It doesn't have to disappear, but it is not pathological.
Thank you.
That is one of the more important things today, is to Christianize the elemental beings of pathological things or of pollution, of destructive tendencies, of diseases, and so on and so on. Of radiation, of screens, of gaming. I have had several feedbacks now on people who are they are dependent on gaming. They cannot stop gaming, and they want to stop. Then they Christianize the elemental being of the cell phone or wherever they game, and suddenly they are free. So you don't have to, you see, that is actually, you have to love your enemy. When you have a parasite in the body, you will not kill it. You will not exclude it, get it out. You transform the elemental being, and then it doesn't harm. Then you can live in brotherly love with the parasite. With a tapeworm, a 1 meter tapeworm, and brotherly love. Yeah. Was that an answer?
Sue, are you still there?
I am. Thank you very much. It's very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, Rowan is next. Please.
Yes, just one more question on the same theme. If, how do I describe it? If you see a disease elemental in someone, and you want to Christianize it, or through the middle, are there any? Can you give a general guideline on how you would you first pull it? Would you Christianize it within the body, or would you first pull it out, then Christianize it? Or when would you do what? Or would you take it out, put it in a prison, then Christianize it and let it go? You could, if you transfer it, if you transform it in the body, does it stay in the body? Or how do you handle that? Or is that a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, if you read the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, there is a very good description on what happens if you just take it out first. Then it comes back with friends, it's written. It gathers forces and then it comes back.
Oh, no, sorry, my question was not, yeah, you do want to transform it, but you could potentially take it out, not let it go, transform it after you've taken it out, and send it on its way transformed. Or
no, yeah, no, then that happens. That's what I meant to say, that in chapter 11, if something leave you, it leaves as open space.
I see.
Yeah. So you have this elemental being. It's already in you. It causes disease. But it is still your karma. It is your elemental beings. You sort of deserve it, or you have got it for some reason. And then you shall not take it out and transform it. You shall transform it within the house, within your body, within the patient's body, within the animal's body. And then it starts a transformation in the body. And then you slowly change. So you have to do that, in my opinion, in the body.
And that would be true for any type of disease entity, a demonic.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The Catholic Church, they try to expel them, take them out, and then transform. But then, as in Luke chapter 11, it's described, if you take something out, it leaves an empty room. And then you will come in. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good image. So, dear friends, we are working 1 hour. So, more questions? Please use this possibility. Speak with Ari. Don't be shy, please. Okay, it's Jordan again. Anybody else? Because Christina and Jordan, they have already.
I just had a quick question about not Rowan's, but the one before, about how to, like, if you had a parasite or something like that, how would you invite in the Christ on yourself?
No, you go to the elemental body of the parasite.
So how would you do that if it was living within you?
It's possible, but it's easier to do it with a patient.
Okay.
But you can do it with yourself. How do you find it? You have to go, that is, you go, you go into the elemental world. When you are in the elemental world, you can observe the elemental beings. You can observe them in others, you can observe them in the air, you can observe them in the water, you can observe them in the sky, in the green of the meadows, the blue of the sky, the white of the snow, and so on, and so on. But then you can turn to yourself, and then you can observe the elemental beings in yourself. That is a little
okay.
advanced than if observing them in others, because this turning around and looking at yourself is not that, it's not actually that easy.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and then you can transform them. You can open the middle in this way of the, I found that, maybe have I shown you how I move the fingers?
Yeah, up and down and then crossways.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
The
good.
Andreas cross. And then you can start a transformation with the elemental being within yourself.
I'll try.
But as I said, this turning around is not that easy. It is actually quite difficult.
Thanks.
Could you please just in slow motion just show the movements of your fingers?
I will better show
Yes. Yeah, not fast, just not.
I have a painting there. Now you got a view of my house.
Very nice, looking good.
There.
Yeah, okay.
So first I do this, then I do this, and then I do this. First, 1, and I say in the love of Christ. 2, in the love of Christ. 3, in the love of Christ. You can either use the fingers like this, or you can use like this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's made by my wife.
Nice. So one hand from Christina again. Christina, you go ahead, but you know, after you, it's about 2 people more.
Andrew, can you inform the participants that there are some who try to raise their hand like this, but I have to press a button?
Yeah. Yeah, dear friends, I mean, we're looking on Ari, I cannot see you, so let me turn to gallery. So do you know how to raise your electronic hand? So this is button reactions in the bottom of your screen. So just press on reactions and then it will be next. Raise a hand. So just press on this button, and you will see who is next. All right. Dr. Albert just waving. I mean, what's going on? Penny. So what's going on? Unmute yourself. You are screaming. You good?
I cannot find any button on my screen to raise.
I see. Okay. All right.
Maybe,
so you
maybe she must use Penny, your cursor. going down by that.
Okay, we good.
No, I'm on an iPad.
Okay, Penny, I'll give you time. No worries. No worries.
Okay, now you are online.
Oh, what a relief.
Yeah. Okay. I see
Hello.
you.
She's been
Hello.
waiting for a long time, you see.
I
Yeah.
have.
Well,
Hello,
for a long time
Ari.
you've been silent. Okay, dear
Yes.
friends, let's speak our friend from Australia. Okay, go ahead. Penny, go
hello,
ahead. But stay on
hello.
track. Stay please on track, okay?
Hello, Ari. I'm so sorry I couldn't make the workshop last weekend. I did want to check. It will be available on a recording, will it?
I send it to you. Just check. I send it.
Oh, well,
I did. So I will send it again afterwards.
please, I don't think I have
I
received.
will. I will.
Okay. Now, I had a question. I'd been thinking about this fourth door, time, karma, Christ, and you said, Ore, that you were thinking progressively about how to name it, and the thought has kept coming back into my mind about the Maitreya Buddha, who is going to bring in karma-free action. And I wondered, does that strike any bells with you? Does it feel as though there might be some connection, even loosely? Karma-free action is what the Maitreya Buddha will be bringing in the future.
I will think about it.
Yeah, and
Thank
it keeps coming back. That's all. So I think there might be something there. And I gather from what you said earlier, you don't want to talk more about the door of death today. I was hoping you might, together with the other participant.
No, I'm not ready to do that.
Okay. Well, that's all I really had to say today. So thank you.
That was very short.
Unbelievable, you are done.
I'll make up for it next time.
Okay. So, all right. So, okay, who is first? Okay, let's give Christine. Can you wait? Just Sue, go ahead.
Just a quick clarification on the diagram, because it was a two-dimensional picture on a three-dimensional action of moving your fingers. So the first one is vertical, up and down.
Yeah.
But is the second one front to back, or is it left to right, or right to left?
No,
Second and third.
these are, I do it on the skin. I do it on one dimension, in one dimension, 2 dimensions, sorry. Not 3-dimensional.
When you move your fingers, you're
Yeah.
going up and down.
Yeah. First like this,
Okay.
then like this.
And is that right to left because of the cameras and all? Is it right to left or left to right, or does it matter?
No.
Doesn't matter.
At least not to me.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all.
Oh, sorry, it's you said it doesn't matter, right? Sorry.
Not to me, I said.
Okay, not to you, but it doesn't matter to you.
It
Okay,
might
Christine.
matter to somebody, might matter, but in my effect, what I do doesn't matter. Usually I do the first like this, then I do from, I don't go from left to right, I go from the center and out. And then the third, the center and out. So it is based, in the center, it starts in the center. I make a room, and each time I ask Christ in.
I don't know where you have given us that maybe that was in a course in Tutzing, when you explained that you have that looking in Israel by that house where such a healing transforming has going on, that there is first that a little bit like going in the imagination, and from there opening this in this direction, and then Andreas crossing.
Yeah. Mm.
So maybe that is the first. You have to realize there is like the crack in everything.
Yeah.
First.
Yes.
And that is that understandable for you, Sue? Okay. Well, and I was thinking to ask you about that place we were going at Sunday with you in Dornach, but near the beers, the water. Is that okay if I ask you for that now?
Nobody has been there, so here, so I think that is very.
Okay, I wrote
That
it
is
to you.
very restrictive.
And the other thing is, you have been asked about from Jordan how to do it by ourselves, and I think it's very much easier to realize if we are two, and that sentence, if there are two or three together in my name, then it's much easier to have that that transforming force through the Christ. It's not so easy to do it alone, if we realize that. And for that reason, you gave also in your book somewhere that sentence or that speech of Steiner from the youth circle, Jugendkreis, maybe that we look to have, maybe it's not needed. I have not personally really 11 with me, but I'm thinking of all of us who are working in that kind you give us, and that this is for me like an open circle. It must not be exactly 12 I know about. Can you say something to that, please?
Can you repeat the question part of it, please?
When we have that from Steiner.
Okay, the question was, is it easier to be two than one?
That is one. I think that is so. And the other thing is to realize that this verse of Steiner for the youth circle is given for always 12 who hold
right.
13th the Christ in the middle. But if you have not personally named your 11 around yourself, you can have that in an open situation, that you realize that this is going on between all of us.
Well, to say something general about that, because it's very specific, I have given quite many workshops now, from the first to now maybe 20, 30 or something. And what I have observed is that it is easier, it goes better and better with the whole group. And at a certain point, I think it after about 20 workshops, I guess, I observed that the results were better and better. And then in my stupidity, of course, I asked the open question, why does it go better and better? Am I more better in teaching? And somebody said, of course not. You are a lousy teacher. But as more and more people go this path, it will become easier and easier. And then I realized Steiner said the same about the Michael path or the 19 lesson path. It is so important that somebody go it, because the more people who go it, the easier it is to go. And that is the most important thing. Not that we are a group of 12 or 70 or whatever. It is the action of every single one of you walking the path. That it is, in my opinion, the important. And it was a question half an hour ago also. Somebody said, what can we do as a group? I am not so sure what we can do as a group. Yes, we can do what we do now. We can support each other. We can tell what we do or not do and what works for us. But still, I think that the most important is that every single one of you go the path as far as you can. That will help the others. Of course, when you also practice hygienic occultism, then you bring in the Christ. You ask Christ. You have always to know that your ultimate goal is to come to the etheric world and there meet what we call Christ. Not the Christ consciousness or not the Christ energy and I don't really like those words very much. You can meet Christ. So that is to me the most important. That is walking the path. And that we can do, every one of us. And the more who walk, the easier it gets to everybody. It will be like a autostrada in the end. What do you call that? In a highway. Highway to heaven. And the bigger this path is, the more can go there, the easier it is. It's not that I say that it shall be easy, but still it becomes easier. It's like a thought is thought for the first time, like Buddha did with the Eightfold Path. And after that, one have done it, then it is easier for the others. So in that context, easier. Was that sort of an answer to these two last questions? 3 questions?
Yes, I think so. But still, I think to use that first of the youth circle and what is not in the books at the end, it has 3 points. And that was never given in a book. That is only given by words from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And these 3 points means Christ in me.
Mm-hmm.
So if we use that to realize also that we have all around the world. Penny in Australia, Yaya in London, and everywhere. We are coming together and holding a bowl together. Nobody is alone.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Ari, how are you feeling? So we're working 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, now we can go on. This
Okay.
I feel better, and I had a cup of coffee just before we
Glad
start.
to hear it. All right. Well, it's next. Well, Elliot.
Okay, thank you for taking a second question. The beautiful picture that your wife did. So I'm not sure, but when I do some Christianizing, I do those movements and I picture in one direction the Luciferic energies, and then when I turn another direction, I picture the Ahrimanic. Then the third, I picture the asuric. And I'm wondering if that's what was intended or if that's just something that...
Yeah, what Christine actually said, that I at one stage I had tried this out now thousands of times for several years, and at one moment I did that, what you describe, the Lucifer, the Ahriman, and the Asuras in a tridimensional pattern that I was teaching in Tutsing that she referred to. But lately, or the last 3/4 of a year, I have done more and more this pattern, and I don't relate to the adversarial forces. I only relate to Christ, and that seems to work better.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Petra. Yeah, Petra is still muted. Do you know how to unmute? It's left bottom corner of your screen. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. It does not work with this unmute. I have a very short question. Hey, Are. Do you have met Christ in the etheric now? Or do you have met him in the etheric? And if you have, what is it like? So this is my
Can you repeat the question, Andre?
Yeah, Petra, can you just form your speech a little bit more precise?
Yeah.
You didn't hear it either.
Yeah.
Yes, I try. So have you met Christ in the etheric? Have you met him now? Or not now, but
Before. Sure.
yeah? Can you understand?
It's a very personal.
And what is it like? Oh, it's too personal. Okay.
Maybe
so it is our goal, you said. It's the goal of all these.
I don't like to speak about myself, but I say
okay,
I want to say how it was, but I can say only when you come to the etheric world, you will meet Christ. Yes, and I on the other side of the door. Yes.
Yes.
And I have described it in one of my books, actually. So you know, I can say something. It is not what you imagine. Well, I cannot say that. It was not what I imagined. I don't know what you imagine, so I cannot say that. Because Christ is not, he appear different from how you approach.
Okay.
It is not like a person.
Mm.
It is I think he is far beyond anything we can imagine. So it is a changing meeting. I have tried to describe it in one of my books. The second maybe. It's when you meet spiritual things or higher spiritual things, they are changing. They are ever transforming as you see them. That is first time I experienced it. It was when first time I listened to met Judith von Halle and listened to a lecture. And I was wondering, why does she change? She changed suddenly. She was very small, then she was very big, then she was, and I was amazed by this changing. And when I discussed that with some friends, that was down in Dornach, I think, they said that the same. They said the same about Steiner. When you listen to a lecture, he changed all the time. Suddenly he was almost frightening, then he was just like a little girl, then he was like a strong man. But still he had the same form, and like Judith also had the same form, but still changed plastically. But when you meet Christ, he changed totally. So it's very difficult to describe.
Okay, thank you.
Shall I unmute you? Oh, you have to unmute there.
Hello.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello again. I had one experience only of meeting Christ, and
Well,
it was something like you said, where it was not at all what I was expecting. And just for general interest, the thing that surprised me most was not the most exalted, it was the fact that there was such humor there. And I was astonished at the extraordinary, wonderful, cosmic sort of humor. I just offer that in case it's of interest to anyone. And I don't know if you want to comment on that.
No, I will not comment.
Okay.
Just that it is all the time changing. That was the most. You knew it is Christ, and it every second, not second, but every minute, it is a new aspect changing.
So don't expect the same thing twice.
No. Don't expect anything, actually.
Yeah. Yes. Because expectations limit the horizon. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I did have another question. All right. How did you find doing that practical workshop online as compared to doing them in person? did you find it easier? Not much difference? More difficult? I'm very interested in how you experienced that.
I've experienced it a little frustrating because I don't get the feedback I usually am accustomed to.
And was that because it was online rather than face to face?
Yeah, well, I don't see when I have an audience and they lift their astral hands, I can sort of look at everyone and see how it works, and I cannot do that online.
Right. Any other aspects? This is a particular interest to me.
No, that is the main thing. I cannot sort of control it or evaluate it.
Right, right. Does that mean it's pretty important if we can to get to a session you give in person somewhere in the world?
I think it works online, but then I have to trust what you say or depend on how you describe it instead of observing it.
Ah, right. So you can't actually see those aspects.
Not on all, no, no.
Right. Okay. So as an ongoing teaching method, it will have its limitations then compared to physical workshops.
And also, of course, when you have questions here, I have to listen to what you say, and you say, this have I experienced so and so, yes. I lose some sort of evaluation of it when it's online, but I can, it does work, absolutely. It's not a big problem.
Right.
I don't have to evaluate.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, friends, our workshop is based on your questions. So, and you have this ability to ask questions from us. Okay, Mirtha?
Thank you, Ara. Would it be possible to explain a little bit further or deepen a little bit further, sorry, maybe again, about the asuric layer with the 90-degree angle and the sound needed for it as well to create a transformation?
I think you have misunderstood. A transformation seemed to be always in the 90-degree angle, whether it is luciferic or Ahrimanic or asuric. So, so can you repeat the question on that background?
With the asuric beings, sound is needed.
What? I don't get the question properly.
Dealing with asuric beings, I thought or I experienced sound is needed before the transformation.
Can you? I don't hear properly.
When you transform an asuric being or you're dealing with asuric beings, a sound is needed as well to create a transformation. Or?
No.
Can you deepen a little bit in how to transform asuric beings compared to Ahriman and Luciferic beings?
Yeah, you see, Luciferic especially, and also Ahrimanic beings, when you transform an elemental beings, you have to create a certain opening. Yes? You have to create an opening. And with the Luciferic, it is actually quite easy. And with the Ahrimanic, it is also quite easy. And that is the problem with the asuric beings and also external demons, like the jinns and other like that. Then there is no sort of prevalent, sort of already possible, like a zipper. Lucifer and Ahriman both have a zipper in their dress. Okay, you understand what I mean? Zipper.
Right, zipper. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just to take this zipper down, and then you have access to their heart. That's a very good picture. But in the asuric, they don't have a zipper. You have to make a zipper. And you have to be a little like this. You have to sort of open it, the middle, or open it either where they attach, where they are, or between them if there are more. You have to open it, force it open, sort of. You have to use more will. And then you invite Christ in. It might be a little frightening to do it. But that is what it's actually about. Was that an answer?
Yes.
Or did you ask for something else?
And further, how to deal with it further, because as well the impact of the sound with it, because you have to create a zipper yourself. You have to, I remember like how you said it, like in Eurofme, like a T. And I'm still wondering as well with how you explained that monster in that cave in Switzerland, or that being there, and how the people have to go all the time back. So to deal with asuric beings back, and how you walk in the fog and with a compass to deal further with the asuric beings. Can you just
why do you take in the compass now? Why?
Being totally, because there's such a numbness. There's not, so you have to go one step. You can't look far away. You have to be really stay within you. It is like walking in the fog, or you explained it.
Yeah, but that is not the transforming of the asuric being. You mix two things together now. When you pass on your path, when you pass the asuric area of the passage, or what is called the elemental passage or elemental path, then you need a compass. Then it feels like walking in fog. Then you have to be aware of the direction. That is to get through this, but that has nothing to do with transforming the asuric beings. You mix two things together. When you transform them, then you stand in front of them, make a crack, make an opening, and invite Christ in. Then you don't need to relate to fog or compass or anything. Okay? Yes?
So as soon as you invited Christ in, your mission is done.
Yes.
Okay, this is the answer.
Christ needs the human beings to go into the demonic realms, like he needed to go through a human body to go into the depth of the earth at Good Friday. Yeah.
Mirza, we are good?
Yeah, sorry, the last sentence I missed. My screen, everything froze. So thank you very much.
Okay, we have a few minutes more.
The questions have dried up now.
So here's Dr. Penny again.
Yes. I'm thinking of the statue in the Goetheanum of the representative of man between the two thieves. I'm wondering, could you give me a bit of an explanation of where the experience is at the top of the raised hand?
What?
Okay, the Goetheanum, the
Yeah.
statue of man between the two thieves.
Yeah.
And
Two hands.
Yes, Christ has one hand raised.
Yes.
Can you explain to me, is there an experience that can be had in relation to the top of that raised hand?
The top
I don't
of the hand?
Yeah, I don't understand exactly what it means, and I've been trying to explore that.
Here is he is creating, he's doing this sort of this opening. He is pushing Lucifer and Ariman apart.
I see. So what does the raised hand?
And they try to cling to each other, you know.
Yes, yes.
At the right side of the statue of the group, they hold hands like this, and that is in the level of the heart.
Yes. But it was the raised hand. Where's that? What does that represent?
That is pushing Lucifer up, Ariman down, and in the middle creating a space where Christ can enter.
So it's pushing Lucifer up.
Yeah.
I hadn't understood that. Thank you very much. I haven't had any personal teaching, so it's all just what I've read, you see.
That's how I see that in relation to what we are talking about here.
Yes.
I'm sure it can be dealt with in many ways, but that is how very typically you have to, if Lucifer and Ariman work together, they are strong. And I've also seen, it's very easy to see actually when Lucifer and Ariman are close, the disease is very severe. I saw that many, many years ago in cancer. In cancer, they always manage to grip. So if you manage to get this grip away, then that solves the cancer. So you have to see where is the Luciferic elemental being, where is the Arimanic elemental being, where do they clutch hands, then you force them from each other, make an opening, invite Christ in, and that is what I consider a treatment of the cancer.
Yeah. That's hugely helpful. Thank you. Yes. It's very difficult.
The whole representative of man is sort of a sort of, in my opinion, not probably, it may be looked at in many ways, but it is also a picture of a cancer treatment.
Goodness, right. This is revelatory. I had no idea.
Yeah. I would say he's separating, Christ is separating Lucifer and Ariman, but gesture is, this is also holding gesture. So he's not completely pushing them away.
No.
Because
not
it's holding.
Yeah. Not translocating, of course. You have this.
Holding.
Yes.
And gesture of hand is like this. I mean, if you, I mean, it's 2 fingers plus 2 fingers, they are separate.
Yes.
But also it's holding gesture.
Pushing, that is weakening them and then transforming them.
Right, hold.
And that is what we can invite Christ in when we make this middle in the
Opening.
elemental world, opening in the elemental world. And to do that, you have to go into the elemental world, make this opening, invite Christ in. And that is to me actually exactly what I see in that group statue.
Right.
And it is also, I guess, what is done in the foundation stone meditation. You have the tree versus the Luciferic, the Ahrimanic, the Asuric, and then come Christ in the 4th verse.
Okay, thank you so much. Question from Owen Barfield, by the way.
Hello,
Oh,
hello, Ari. Sorry, it's taken me a while to think of a question, but the conversation's been engaging, and I just wanted to listen rather than talk. But a question has come to me because you're talking about healing, and in one of our meetings, I was saying to you that I was practicing the healing as you taught it, separating the middle, and then there was an incident, a coincidence, or something that related to you. And when I told you this at the time, you said, oh, that's not unexpected because the relationship between the teacher and the practitioner, even when you're doing some healing. So I'm just thinking about that now. You didn't elaborate because there were people around us, but could you say something more about if we are practicing as you teach us, is there still a connection back to you and what you're teaching us, and how does that relationship work?
of course.
And also, are there other teachers?
Yeah. There's always a bond between teacher and student. So yes.
And do you experience that bond, or how do you experience that?
I experience it as joy.
Well, I'm glad you get your joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, dear friends, I apologize. I mean, so I didn't look in the texts. So here's like long question from Geoffrey. Geoffrey, would you please read your questions because we almost out of time?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry about that. I am I'm probably not as long lived in anthroposophy as most of the attendees here, so I'm listening to some of these concepts, and I have heard Ari Thoresen at the Mystec conference and other presentations explain this process. But I was just wondering, and forgive me if this is too basic a question, but let's say that this concept became published and some well-known institutions started to really research it and say, wow, this is really a wonderful thing that we all have to start to adopt worldwide. And more advocates learned how to apply this. Is it true that, would you say it's true that all, let's say in the same way that you treat animals without their being conscious of what you're doing, or having to have faith, so to speak, like a traditional mainstream faith healer or laying on of hands requires the patient to have some cooperation or receptivity to it. But would you say that it's true that, let's say this is a wonderful new technique that could be applied worldwide, would it replace all medical therapies where you're pretty much faith healing and spiritually Christianizing elemental beings, which are causing all disease? Is that true that you're saying that basically all ailments are caused by an elemental being that might be tied to karma or something, but it's that there would be no more need for mainstream allopathic medical interventions, for example, for cancer and things like that.
Hmm. You said, of course, that you have the karma in there, of course, and the development. But you see, when you, all medical therapies, and I say all medical therapies, have two options, and that is school medicine, it is other herbal medicine, potentiated medicine, homeopathy, craniosacral therapy, osteopathy, and so on. They have two options. That is to move the elemental being, that is called transformation, translocation, or change it where it is. If you move it, you move the disease to another place, or another person, or an animal from a human. That was one of the first things I saw as a veterinarian, that all diseases in animal come from their owner. So, and all diseases are related to elemental beings. So yes, if you start to transform the elemental being of a disease, it will, in accordance with the need of karma or the possibility, change. And then you won't need much other therapies. That is right. So generally, yes to what you ask.
And if I just wanted to understand, I think you just said that all animal disease, the animals would basically be disease-free were it not for diseases being passed to them from their owners.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true.
Am I the only one here that can't just shake my head and say, "Oh, well, that's wonderful"? It sounds nonsensical to me, honestly. Does anyone else have that? Am I? Is there something wrong with me that I have this feeling inside that says, "Wow, this is nonsense"? You know, not all of it. I understand that there are spiritual processes, and I believe in faith healing. I believe in intercessory prayer. But
well,
like that statement sounds nonsensical to me. I believe animals can get sick from various causes, you know.
Yeah, but
you know,
now I have
I want to hold back something I'm thinking that
yeah.
I can't imagine that nobody else is thinking that.
Oh yes.
I'm sure you hear it all the time from people. You know,
No, I actually hear the opposite. Oh yes, I say of course, because when I got this and so, and then my dog got sick. Actually, this makes sense, and that is, to me, amazing. It makes sense to 90% of dog or animal owners. And a proof actually is, when I realized this, I started to give the medicine to the owner, or the treatment to the owner, and the animal got healed more than double speed, 3-4 times as fast as if I had been treating the animal. And that amazed me. This is not something that I have been conjuring up. I was just observing that the elemental beings of the animal came from the owner. And when I then treated the owner, the origin of the elemental being, sort of the mother of the elemental being in the animal got healed without treating the animal. And I have owners of stables, of trotters. They ask, treat me, and then my horses gets well. Because in Norway, they have seen this. But of course, theoretically, it is nonsensical.
Is there a way to document those incidents? It must be quite. No, in other words, do you have a list of clients and any way that to put that into a presentable form in some way?
Yeah, at a certain time, I had 10% of all horses in the whole country of Norway as patients. 10%. So I had a huge cartothek, we call it. What is in English? Cartothek.
Clientele.
No, cartothek, that is journals on each, yes. So yes, I have quite much documentation on this.
Yes, Ari, he's running his clinic in Norway, so he's very well known practitioner in Norway, in the whole world. So he's practicing professionally.
Are you the only veterinarian in Norway that practices this way, or are there others adopting this approach? Or are they friendly to you, or do they ostracize you? Or
No, they are actually quite friendly. They send me patients if they cannot heal themselves. They send horses or dogs to me. Yes, quite many.
okay, well, thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Hey, dear friends. So we're working 2 hours and 4 minutes. So looks like Ari in a good shape, physical shape. So which is great news.
Don't push it too far. Don't push it too far.
No. I mean, I'm just about to round the session, so it just probably we have to finish finally, and maybe it's time to schedule next. And I have one suggestion: is it makes sense so this theoretical workshop not going to be too close to practical? Maybe 1 month ahead. I mean, 1 month of away. What do you think? Because we have. So Christine is saying no. So I mean, we agreed Ari doing every 2 months. So next practical workshop scheduled for January 4th. And I would suggest maybe we can meet in the end of January for theoretical. So what do you think, Ari?
Yeah. Okay. We have already put the theoretical up, haven't we? The date?
No. I mean, we're doing it right now. We're going to do it right now. So if it will be end of January, I think it will be good because it will be 1 month written.
I will get my agenda.
Excellent. So 1 month is theoretical. Dr. Penny, what? I mean, unmute yourself, Penny. So what you trying to tell us? You disagree?
What date do you suggest? You said?
I think it will be nice to have in the end of January.
End of January.
So, or maybe in the beginning of February. So it's a calendar on the computer.
Yeah.
December.
Yeah. What about the Saturday, the 1st of February?
Well, I think it sounds very good.
Yeah.
Any objections, friends? No? Dr. Penny, so I cannot hear you. Unmute your machine, please. Okay.
I was wondering if that makes it much more difficult for RA to do trips and other workshops, if we're evenly spaced, isn't it easier to bunch the two a week apart? For him, I mean.
But let's ask Ari.
That's why I'm wanting to ask, yeah.
Sure. Ari is good. He's agreeing.
Okay. It's okay, yes.
All right, dear friends. So please mark your calendars for February 1st. Very nice. So we have January 4th and February 1st.
Yeah. Before we close, can I say a little thing about
Absolutely.
what Geoffrey asked?
Geoffrey, are you with us?
Yes.
Geoffrey, are you with us? So
Yes,
are you going to? Okay.
Yes.
Because many years ago, I wrote an article about this translocation, that diseases in animals come from humans. I got it published even in a veterinary journal. And then I, one evening, was called by a doctor. He was working with the quackbusters. There is an organization in the world, scientists from many places that want to expose quacks, medical liars. And he called me and said, I have to ask you, have you written this article about diseases coming from human to animals? And I said, yes. And you are a veterinarian, yes? Yeah, I had to ask because this is the silliest thing we in this organization have ever heard. So we are going to publish that article in our journal as an example of the total silliness of quacks. So I got my article actually spread all over the world by this organization, and I enjoyed it highly. Although why they did it was, of course, the opposite. They wanted to show the world that I was an idiot.
It's funny. That's a good story. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. So I understand it's very difficult to accept such a thought. So no problem.
I appreciate that. And I think we all have to, on the one hand, want to learn all these new things, but at the same time, remain critical thinkers because of so much in the world that is delusional and wrong and mistaken. You just have to constantly be a little bit skeptical at first with these things, and
of course,
but yet keep an open mind and try.
And you don't happen to be a veterinarian or something?
No. I'm an architect.
Yeah, because I've written an 800-page book about this phenomenon, veterinary medicine.
Wow.
It is called the Final Compendium of Spiritual Medicine. Can be bought on Amazon. There you can read about these things in detail, 800 pages.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I know you're a well-known, credible person, so it adds a lot to what you're saying. That you're not just coming up with something.
No. This translocation thing of diseases from human to animals, I have observed. First time I observed it was 1977, and I mean I observe it almost in every patient.
Yeah, a quick question. Earlier today, you mentioned, you referred to the quantum dislocation or the what Einstein called spooky action at a distance, where it doesn't matter how far apart the particles are. Is that something that you're incorporating into this now, that as more comes out about quantum entanglement?
No, well, no, my work is to transform the elemental beings. I don't incorporate that phenomenon. No.
You mentioned it though earlier about
I know it was an example that the laws in the elemental world are different from the etheric world, are different from the material world.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we can stop.
So we conclude. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, dear friends, for joining our workshop. And we'll see you on January 4th and for February 1st. So, and if you wish, so please unmute your machines and say thank you to Ari.
Thank you.
And thank you for your meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Ari.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enough now. Enough now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And to Andre.
Goodbye, friends.
Goodbye. Goodbye.